sake I will not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest, until the righteous thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all kings thy glory. And thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. Thou shalt also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, and a rod of iron in the hand of God. Isaiah 62, verses 1 through 3. Pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning humble because we know how, Lord, you tell us. Thank you for waking us up this morning, Lord, giving us our life, our health, and our strength, Lord. Thank you for your grace, your mercy, and saving power, Father. Father, thank you for allowing us to see another beautiful day that you prepared for us that we'll never see again, Father. Father, we also thank you for this beautiful weather that you have prepared for us today. Father, also thank you for being a good God that you are, Father. A God that sits high and looks low. Father, we ask that you wrap your arms around the sick and the shut-in so that we will come back and worship of the everlasting to you, Father. Father, we ask that you go with the man servant and his family, go with the brothers of this congregation, Father. Father, we ask that you go with everybody in this congregation, Father. We do all things peace and suffer and myself. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Substitute in the chair.
Our Father in heaven, thank you so much for this opportunity to take this bread. This is the emblem of your Son's body on the full cross of Calvary. We thank you for the sacrifice that he made. We pray we take it in a manner which is pleasing and acceptable unto thee. In Christ's name we ask this prayer. Amen.
Amen. Am I supposed to put this down? It doesn't say anything. I'm gonna watch it anyways. Keep. I don't want it. I don't want it. Thank you. This is taking too long.
Touch tempted toss. When you are discouraged, thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. Will count your blessings, name them one by one. Yes, count your blessings, see what God has done. You would count your blessings, name them one by one. Well, count your many blessings, see what God has done. Are you ever burdened with the load of care? Does your cross seem heavy? You are called to bear. Count your many blessings, every time will fly, and it will be singing as the day goes by. We'll count your blessings, name them one by one. Oh, count your blessings, see what God has done. You would count your blessings, name them one by one. Well, count your many blessings, see what God has done. When you look at others with their land and gold, thinking Christ has promised you have wealth untold. Count your many blessings, money cannot buy. Your reward in heaven, know your home on high. Will count your blessings, name them one by one. Yes, count your blessings, see what God has done. You want to count your blessings, name them one by one. Well, count your many blessings, see what God has done. Well, count your blessings, name them one by one. Yes, count your blessings, see what God has done. You want to count your blessings, name them one by one. Oh, count your many blessings, see what God has done.
I surrender all to you. Everything I give to you, withholding nothing, withholding nothing, withholding Lord. Yes, we say, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, Lord, yes. I give myself away. Lord, I give away. I give myself away so you can use me. Amen. Let's notice in our church songs, Jesus rose. Jesus rose with all power in his hand. He died one Sunday, but he rose up with all power in his hand. Jesus rose with all power in his hand. Yeah. Jesus rose with all power in his hand. In his hand. You know they tell me that he died one Friday evening, but he rose up Sunday morning. Jesus rose with all power in his hand. You know my Jesus rose with all power in his hand. Yes, I know Jesus rose with all power in his hand. In his hand. You know they tell me that he died one Friday evening, but he rose up Sunday morning. Jesus rose with all power in his hand. In his hand. You know they tell me that the angel came down from glory and he rolled the stone away. Yes, they know they tell the angel came down from glory and he rolled the stone away. You know that the angel came down from glory and he rolled that stone away. Jesus rose with all power in his hand. Yes, yes, my Jesus rose with all power in his hand. Yes, I know, yeah, Jesus rose with all power in his hand. Yes, in his hand. You know they tell me that he died one Friday evening, but he rose up Sunday morning. Jesus rose with all power in his hand. Yes, in his hand. Amen. I thought y'all knew that. Maybe not. I love to praise him. I love to praise his. I love to praise him. You know I love to praise him. You know that I love to praise his. Oh, come on, sing. Well, I love So here's a wheel running over in the middle. You know that he'll never ever let me down. Well, my God, should you good or better? Help us with the time now, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, keep singing hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, then glory, hallelujah, hallelujah, yeah. I love the praises. You know that I love to praise God's holy. And I love to praise Him. I love to praise Him. Good God Almighty, I'll just praise Him. Well, you know that I love to praise His holy. He's my rock. He's my rock, my God's a wheel. Turn it over in the middle. But you know he'll never, I know he'll never ever let me down. My God, so true. He's a mighty good Jew. Hallelujah, 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 yeah, yeah. Keep singing hallelujah, hallelujah. I never said to the mighty hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, you know that I love to praise His. One more time. Hey, He's my rock, my God's a wheel, moving over in the middle. Well, you know that He will never, I know He'll never ever let me down. My God's a mighty good Jew. A Jew that I now have. Y'all sing it, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, keep singing hallelujah, hallelujah. Way over in glory, hallelujah, hallelujah. Yeah, I love to praise His name. You know that I love to keep singing it. I love when times getting bad, y'all. I love when I'm feeling mighty sad now. I love when I'm down on my knees, y'all. I love when God brings me out, y'all. I love to praise His holy name.
Good to be in the house of the Lord. On the Lord's Day. We're in a series for First Peter, and we looked at a theme out of the first 3 chapters. So this morning I'm in chapter 4, and I want to begin with verse number 12. I was going to go down to verse 16, but I think I'm going to read verses 12 through 19. And I want to talk to you this morning. So I'm just glad to be a Christian. Anybody glad to be a Christian? If you don't mind standing as we read from First Peter chapter 4, beginning verse number 12. And we'll look at verse 16 as a pivotal verse for
make sure that none of you suffers as a murderer or thief or evildoer or a troublesome meddler. But if anyone suffers as a Christian, he is not to be ashamed, but is to glorify God in this name. For it is time for judgment to begin with the household of God. And if it begins with us first, what shall be the outcome for those who do not obey the gospel of God? And if it is with difficulty that the righteous is saved, what will become of the godless man and the sinner? Therefore, those also who suffer according to the will of God shall entrust their souls to the faithful Creator in doing what is right. That's the reading of the text. All God's people said, Amen. Amen. You can take a seat. We'll give thanks unto the Lord for His good and for His mercy and goodness. I'm just glad to be a Christian. There are many things in life that makes us proud. When two folk get married, the celebration of that wedding is a proud moment. When a couple gives birth to a child, that's another proud moment. Sometimes when you purchase a new home or you purchase a new automobile, until the note comes, that's a proud moment. But this morning, I just want you to be glad to be a Christian. We're proud when our children accomplish great things. I know that we were proud as parents. Our son made the basketball team. The girls come home with a good report card or made the honor roll. We're proud of the achievements that our young people make in life. But this morning, I just want you to be glad to be a Christian. I remember years ago when President Obama won the election. I remember where I was. I remember that moment because I had a moment. I had to get up from my seat. And I went to the bathroom and I shedded some tears because that was a proud moment for the first African American to become president of the United States. But I would not trade being a Christian to be the president of the United States. I'm just glad to be a Christian. I wanted Isaiah 62 to be read because the old-time preachers would use that passage to show us that God was going to give us a new name. But that new name would be given to us after the Gentiles would see the righteousness of God. And if you go through the book of Acts, you'll know that in Acts chapter 2, Jews received the gospel on the day of Pentecost. In Acts chapter 8, the Samaritans received the gospel. And then in Acts chapter 10, the household of Cornelius, which represents Gentiles, received the gospel. Then in Acts 11, verse number 26 is the first time that the word Christian is found in your Bible. The disciples were called Christians. So before they were called Christians, they were called disciples. They were called those of the way. But in Antioch, they got the tag Christian. What does it mean to be a Christian? Agrippa knew that if he obeyed the gospel, that he would become a Christian. Acts chapter 26, verse number 28, Paul is talking to Agrippa, and Agrippa responds and says to Paul, almost thou persuaded me to be a Christian. Agrippa knew that if he obeyed what Paul preached, he would become something different from what already existed. There were Pharisees, there were Sadducees, there were Essenes, there were other religious groups that existed at that day and time. But if Agrippa put his faith in a crucified Christ and a resurrected Lord and obeyed the gospel, he would become a Christian. If we want to be relevant and make it applicable today, there are a lot of religious faiths. But if someone obeys the gospel, they don't become part of that faith, they become a Christian. 1 Peter 4, verse 16 is the third time that the word is used. It's the unique name. And Peter said, if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf or on this name. So what does it mean to be a Christian? I want to make a distinction between being a Christian and being a church member. They may not be the same. Some folk can be a church member but not be a Christian. And sometimes folk are more loyal to the church than they are to Jesus Christ. Church membership is important, but our loyalty is not to the church per se. We are not church followers, but we are Christ followers. And to be a Christian really means that we are a follower of Jesus Christ. We imitate him. What does it mean to be a Christian? A Christian is a child of God. A Christian is one who has been born again. A Christian is one, he's a sinner who's saved by grace. He's a king, he's a priest, he's a joint heir with Jesus Christ. A Christian is a new creature in Christ, washed in the blood of the Lamb. I don't want you to be a church member per se. I want you to be a Christian. I want you to be a follower of Christ. And if you are a follower of Christ, you have to be associated with a church. You have to be a member of the Lord's church. But don't get it twisted. Don't think that your loyalty is to the church per se. Our loyalty is to the man who died on the cross. And if I'm loyal to him, I'm going to be loyal to his church. I cannot divorce myself from this church, but some folk, I'm going to take my time with this, some folk are more loyal to what the church does. And if the church is doing what Christ has commanded, then that's all right. But the members, the folk that were called Christians in the Bible were not called church members, they were called Christians. And Peter said, if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf. I want to talk about the experiences of a Christian then and the experiences of a Christian now. And I want to preface what I'm going to say that we have to realize that we live in a fallen world. This is not a correct world. This is a corrupt world. And the fallenness and the brokenness of this world affects us. And if we don't realize how corrupt and how fallen this world is, the church ends up being like the world instead of the world being like the church. The people that Peter was writing to was going through severe persecution. Peter called it a fiery trial. They were reproached because they wore his name. Some of them were thrown in jail. Some were burned alive. Some were stoned to death. Some were beaten with whips made of leather straps and glass and metal. The early Christians were sawed in two while alive. Some of them had to hide in caves and hide in dens. And Paul is writing to them and said, now look, don't suffer as a murderer. Don't suffer as a thief. Don't suffer as an evildoer. Don't suffer as a busybody or a meddler in somebody else's affair. But if you suffer, and when he said this now, when he's talking about this, you got to get thrown in jail, you got to be burned alive, you get sawed asunder, you get beat with whips. If you suffer that way, you ought to rejoice. You ought to be glad that you were able or honored to suffer for the cause of Christ. The world was fallen then, and the world that we live in is fallen now. And we need to realize how fallen this world is. A friend of mine, and I hope we can bring him here later this year, has this concept that he's called Survival 21. And in this idea of Survival 21, he's targeting young men and young women from the age of 8 to 18, and with some of the brokenness and some of the challenges that they have to face. And we have to realize, as people of color, folk that look like me, I'm talking about African American, black folk, as people of color, our ancestors were brought to America in chains. That's history. They were brought over here against their will. 400 years plus of abuse, suffering in every imaginable way. And now we face a crisis. We are at war because we live in a fallen world. Make no mistake about it. A cultural crisis affects the culture, and whatever affects the culture will eventually affect the church. But what kind of fallen world do we live in? Well, in our criminal justice system, people of color, watch me now, people of color are sentenced to longer jail sentences than other ethnic groups. People of color, tens of thousands are locked in jails and prisons. We are 5 times more likely than Caucasians to be locked up. It's estimated that 745,000 black men are in state and federal prison. You can't tell me we ain't in a fallen world. And sometimes some of our black women are looking for a black man and can't find a black man because most black men are either locked up in jail or on their way to jail. We live in a fallen world. We live in a world where the child of God, the church, the Christian is experiencing this cultural crisis. And I came to say this morning, even with the cultural crisis, we ought to be glad to be a Christian. Can I talk to y'all this morning? Let's talk about abortion. Y'all got a minute here? There are 900 to 1,400 average abortions per day for black women. 36% of all abortions performed in America are from black women. Yet black women compose only 13% of the country's population. Are y'all with me? 36% of black women are having abortions, but only 13% of the country represent black women. Since Roe versus Wade, y'all know about Roe versus Wade, don't you? Approximately 17 million black babies have been aborted. And you may say, bro, Crusoe, why are you preaching this? What this got to do with me? Because we live in this age where abortion has been legalized. And what gets me about abortion is, it ain't the brothers getting the abortion. It's the sisters that's getting the abortion. Y'all mighty quiet this morning. Single parents, 7 out of 10 babies are born to blacks. And in that 7 out of 10, they're born to single women. Now, something ain't right with that. I think we got to go back to doing it like the Bible teaches. Shouldn't we marry and then bear children? Or should we bear children and then get married? Shouldn't we marry and then bear children? And the reason we and I think it goes back to teaching. And you know, it's just getting crazy. Let me give you some more statistics. This is what we're experiencing now as Christians. Black on black murders in the city of Chicago. 76% of all homicides are committed by black people against black people. Yet blacks make up only 35% of the city of Chicago. There are 6,000 plus black on black homicides every year in America. And too many young people of color are making their way to an early grave or an emergency emergency room or a court appearance or living a life of crime. Well, the early church didn't face all of that, but that's what we're facing now. Say amen if you can. We're facing that there are more black men in prison than there are going to college. We're facing not only that, we're facing drug abuse. Not only that, we're facing our young people have an identity crisis. Can I really talk to y'all this morning? Man, there's something going on right now where a celebrity is being applauded for how he's treating his 12-year-old son. And I start thinking about that. Man, when my kids was 12, if one of them came home talking about they didn't want to be the way they were born, me and Sister Crusoe both would have slapped them in the yesterday. Are y'all hearing me? But now we live in an age where young people are questioning their identity. And boys want to be identified as girls. And girls want to be identified as boys. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm just glad to be a Christian. Because a Christian ain't going to have no doubt about his identity. Say amen if you can. A child of God. And I know some of y'all getting all tight, get all quiet, because you think I'm going to say something I shouldn't say. I know how to be politically correct and tell the truth at the same time. But somebody ought to stand up and teach what the Bible teaches. When you are born in this world, either you are born male or female. Am I right about it? Ain't no in between. Ain't no ambiguity about that. I mean, God made us male and female. But we're living in an age where young folk and young boys and young girls are questioning their identity. I'm just glad to be a Christian. And we ought to have some Christian homes. Am I right about it? Christian homes. I'm talking about what we experience. You know, I don't mean no harm. I really don't mean no harm. But I think we got to start teaching in the church the sanctity of marriage. We are pro-marriage in Church of the Christ. Say amen if you can. We got to teach it because, look, I come from a broken home. I know what it's like to grow up without your daddy. I know what it's like to be waiting for your daddy to come home. I know what it's like not to know what he looked like. I remember that my mother told me, your daddy coming home from jail. Your daddy. And I'm thinking, what does he look like? Does he look like me? Is he tall? Is he short? Is he light-skinned? Is he brown-skinned? Thank God, I think I'm halfway all right. Even growing up without a daddy. See, y'all ain't gonna say amen there? And listen, I applaud strong black women. Don't have nothing against a strong black sister because I'm really upset with the black man for putting the black woman in a position of having to raise a family all by herself. It's time for black men to stand up and be God's man. Brother, when you get married, plan for it to be until death do us part. You don't want to go around here just having babies. Say amen if you can. Do I have some help here? I got some heavenly help. I may not have nothing out here, but I know this right here is right. And when you hook up for life. Say amen. Now we got to quit breaking homes and children don't know who their daddy is and children don't know who their mama is and mama got 3 or 4 boyfriends coming in and out of the house. Preach, black man, I'm trying. That's what we experience now. And the culture that we live in this world today, and because of the plight that we put black women in, and they've taken leadership in the home because of the absence of the black man, sometimes that carries over in the church. I was watching us this morning. We need more brothers participating even right here. And I ain't liberal, I ain't that progressive, but I can understand how sometimes we're lacking in some areas, and what we really need. Now, what they experienced in the New Testament is different from what we experience now. But I think there's an answer. And the answer to the ill is for members of the church to be glad to be a Christian. What does it mean to be a Christian? What does it mean to be a Christian? Being a Christian means more than coming to worship service. Being a Christian means more than coming to Bible class. For Crusoe, like, you telling me I don't have to come to Bible class? Nah, that ain't what I'm telling you at all. You telling me I don't have to come to work? No. I'm telling you, you come here to get fed. You come here to learn. You come here to honor God, to worship God. But when we leave here, Jesus expressed it like this in Matthew 5. He said, we are the salt of the earth. We are the light of the world. We are a city set on the hill. That's why this Survival 21, I'm excited about this preacher who's putting this together, because if we embrace this Survival 21 as being salt, salt cannot make any impact until it makes some contact. I grew up in Ohio. In Ohio, we had some brutal winters, you know. We had some real brutal winters, but they never closed school. They shoveled, we walked to school. Deep, ankle deep, snow, you know, we had to walk to school, so we didn't get busted and all that stuff, but they hardly ever, I can hardly ever remember them closing school, but I remember when we get ice on the street, ice on the sidewalk, we would pour salt on the ice. And the salt that was poured on the ice would melt the ice. But guess what Jesus is saying to Christians? And if this world is going to change, we got to make contact with the world. The problem sometimes is we don't have enough Jesus in us, so that when we make contact, instead of changing the world changes us. We have to get to a point where we can make contact without being contaminated by those we touch. Say amen if you can. And not only does salt have to make contact, but salt is also a preserver. Sometimes they'll put salt to save meat, and the meat will keep it from spoiling. Are y'all with me? And then not only does salt preserve, not only does salt melt, but salt also seasons. Y'all know y'all want some salt in your greens. You want some salt and some other stuff, and it just makes it taste a little bit better. What Peter is really trying to tell the Christians of that day, but I know you're going to suffer. I know you got it hard. I know you're persecuted. I know it's difficult. But if you suffer as a Christian, so if folk make fun of you because husbands are loving their wives like Christ loved the church, just go on and suffer. If folk make fun of you because wives, you are submissive to your own husband as unto the Lord, you just go on and suffer. Parents, if you're not bitter toward your children and you don't provoke them to wrath, and some folk make fun of you for that, you just go on and suffer. Children, if you obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right, and you want to live long, and really, can I talk to young folk? If folk make fun of you for saying yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and no, sir, let them make fun. Are y'all with me? I don't want the young folk to think I'm picking on, but look, you know, I came up from the old school. I came from the old school that when we would have family gatherings, children didn't even sit at the same table with grown folk. Children getting grown folk conversation, am I right about it? Now, we had our own table. And I grew up that if you ride the bus or if you sit somewhere and an older person comes, young folk got up and let you have their seat. Are y'all with me now? And folk will make fun of you for doing that. But if you're reproached for being a Christian, Peter said, don't be ashamed, but glorify God on this behalf. Well, that's what the expectation was sought. God expects us to do more than exist. He wants us to live. He expects us more than just talk. You know what? I learned folk can talk a good talk. But I've also learned folk that talk a good talk usually can't back it up. Now, I played basketball, and I was on a good team, and, you know, I tell you all the time, you do great report from the state of Ohio all the time. Pretty good team. I was a 10-point guy, was not a star on the team. I was a 10-point guy, got the start, and I appreciate that. But I learned that folk that bragged on their game didn't have no game. Because if you had a game, all you do is get on the court and show. Are y'all with me? You ain't got to tell nobody how bad, how tough you are. Can I really teach y'all? You know, if you can sing, you ain't got to brag in your sing. If you can preach, you ain't got to brag on it. You just do what you do. Say amen now. So sometimes we talk a big talk, but we're not demonstrating anything. God expects us to do more than care. He wants us to share. Because we are Christians, we ought to want what God wants. Then I want you to see the exposition of a Christian. By exposition, I mean, what is our message? You know, what do we believe? If you say you're a Christian, what do a Christian believe? What is the Christian's faith foundation? Now, in the New Testament, Christians did not preach a prosperity gospel. Our prosperity simply means, you know, there's nothing wrong with having things and material things, but in New Testament time, they didn't teach false doctrine to encourage folk to gain material wealth. And that's what's happening with some of these mega churches. It's a prosperity gospel. You sow a seed, and you sow a seed to my seed, and God won't bless you for sowing a seed, and all that. No, that wasn't taught in the first century. They didn't teach any church would do. In the first century, any church didn't do because there wasn't but one, saved men. You know, they didn't teach that folk could be saved outside the body of Christ. No, they didn't teach that. They didn't teach that. But Peter is teaching something here in the 4th chapter. He says, for the time is coming that judgment must begin at the house of God. Watch this. A little boy, the older preachers used to scare me to death because they use passages like this. The time is coming. Judgment is going to begin at the house of God. If it first begin at us, what shall it, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, what shall the sinner done out there? Then they talk about Jesus coming as a thief in the night. Then they talk about he's going to separate us like sheep and goats. Look, boy, I'm trying to picture Jesus coming. I'm picturing it in my mind. It scared me to death. But watch this. This is what Peter is teaching the suffering Christians that he's writing to. It is time for judgment to begin with the household of God. And if it first began with us, what will be the outcome of them who do not obey the gospel of God? I tell folk all the time, you know, when folks say the Church of Christ make the claim that they are the only ones going to heaven. I don't know, hold up. Not everybody in the Church of Christ is going to be saved. Am I right now? Because some folks just won't do right. Some folk lose their faith. But you have to be in Christ in order to be saved. And then Peter said, and if the righteous are scarcely saved, man, those who are saved will scarcely get in. Are y'all with me? You know, even though the church is right, the Church of Christ is the one true church, and you have to be in Christ and be a member of the church in order for God to save us. Peter said it's a scarcely thing. And then he said, and if it's with difficulty the righteous will be saved, what will become of the godless man and the sinner? So you know what their message was? Their message in New Testament time was Christ saves folk from their sin. Their message was a Jewish carpenter hung, bled, and died. They buried him on Friday, but he rose from the grave on Sunday morning. And folk had to put their faith in that fact that Jesus Christ was the Son of the living God, that he died for their sins, and only in him could they have everlasting life. So Paul and others preached Christ and him crucified. And when they obeyed the gospel, they became a Christian. A person can go to heaven without ever seeing the Grand Canyon. You can go to heaven without ever going to the Niagara Falls. You can go to heaven without going to Hawaii. You can go to heaven and never walk the sand dunes of the Sahara Desert or go to a presidential inauguration. You can go to heaven without owning a fur coat or Rolls Royce or having Donald Trump money. But nobody can go to heaven without becoming a Christian. Someone ought to sing the song, "In this world I've tried most everything, and I'm happy now to say there's nothing like religion in the good old-fashioned way. I'm walking in the old-time way, and I want the world to know that I'd rather be an old-time Christian than anything I know." Ain't nothing wrong with old-time Christian. You know what that old-time Christianity does? He kept some families together. Say amen. Yeah, that old time, this new stuff. Boy, we change partners like we changing socks. Amen. You know, get mad at me today and you out the door tomorrow. Now, that ain't the old time, dog. Y'all ain't saying nothing. We need to get back to the old time gospel. Anybody glad to be a Christian?
Amen.
I didn't say glad to be a member of the Church of Christ. I said glad to be a Christian. A Christ follower. Someone who put their faith in Jesus Christ and ain't gonna turn back. Say amen. Amen. I've decided to follow Jesus. Ain't gonna turn back. Peter, this same Peter who wrote this epistle, was faced with a question once. Y'all know the story in John 6. Many of the Lord's disciples went back and walked no more with him. He preached something, and Jesus would teach about being the bread of life, and except you eat of his flesh and drink of his blood, you will have any life in you. And some folks thought that was a hard saying. And they left Jesus, they went back, and they didn't walk with him no more. Jesus, he turned to 12. And he said, will you also go away? And Peter, thank God, Peter got it right every now and then. Lord, to whom shall we go? You know, if I leave you, Jesus, where am I going? You know, that don't make no sense. Are y'all with me? You know, I can't go to my best buddy because my best buddy, you know, I can't go to my boyfriend or my girlfriend. I can't go to my husband. I can't go to my boss on the job. Lord, where I'm going. Thou hast the words of eternal life. And Peter said, we believe and are sure that you are the Christ. And once you become a Christian, there's no joy out there in the world that can replace the joy of being in Christ. Sister Gustav was talking how yesterday, you know, coming from the funeral service, and we remember the times when, going to Richmond was just a highlight. I mean, you look forward to going to Richmond because of the gospel meetings and the tent meetings. And then I did a meeting a couple of weeks ago in Richmond, and those of us who've been in the church for a while, we know what those fellowships are like. I mean, those were fun times. Am I right about it? The church done got so lazy now. We got other stuff to do. And we forget, the fun. I know I'm messing up. The fun is going to worldly events. I started to mention something. I know y'all get mad at me going. But we'd rather do that kind of stuff than do church stuff. And I'm glad to be a Christian. Glad to be a Christ follower. I'm glad to hear his word preached. I'm glad to go to a fellowship where I can hear some gospel singing. Say amen. I'm glad where we can have some adventures and knocking doors and try to tell folk about Jesus. I'm glad even when you sit down with folk and you try to explain the gospel to them, man. And I can tell you countless stories how when the truth is revealed and people start breaking down in tears because they'll tell you things like, I never saw this before. I never heard this before. I'm just so thankful that God allowed me here. That's where joy, real joy comes from. Real joy don't come from jungle juice. Real joy don't come from popping your finger in the nightclub. Real joy don't come from going to the casino. Preach, black man, I'm preaching. Real joy don't come from the bottle. Real joy comes from serving Jesus. And only a Christian can serve Jesus. We got to work on this, God. We got to work because we live in a culture that's causing some challenges for our Christianity. Y'all with me? And so Peter said, look, don't let them call you a murderer. Don't let them call you a thief. Don't let them call you a busybody with other men's matter. No, that ain't what they. If you do that, you need to suffer. Are you with me? You kill somebody, you're going to jail. You steal something from me, I'm calling the police. Are y'all with me? Y'all ain't with me. Stealing this thing, all right? If you talk and get it on folk business, then you can't do that and not expect some repercussions. But Peter said, but if you suffer as a Christian, you ought to be like Peter was in Acts 4, I believe. Peter and John, they were told not to preach or teach in his name. And then they got beaten, and they were rejoicing that they were counted worthy to serve Jesus Christ. Y'all with? And we in some ways, we got it good. We got it good. Ain't nobody gonna throw us in jail. Ain't nobody gonna beat or whip us with cat and nine tail. They're not gonna saw us or something. But I'm glad to be a Christian. How do you become a Christian? You have to put your faith in Jesus Christ. That he hung, he bled, he died on Calvary's cross. But he rose from the grave on the third day. Repent of your past sins, confess Christ, and then be baptized in water. Some folks say that's so redundant. Yeah, I hear that every Sunday. Well, that's God's plan of salvation. And every gospel preacher, but you never know who's in the office. You never know where they are. And, you know, we're in a situation. I remember so many meetings, and I see guys when they stand on the business law, and you see somebody with 1 foot in the aisle, 1 foot in the walkway, and I remember once we were in college, which is crucial from, and I was preaching hard and singing and taking something, and I thought I was holding, cut the invitation short, and the man told me, he said, well, if they just sang one more verse, I was coming. And we extend the invitation because maybe that's what somebody needs to make up their mind to come to Jesus. They don't know how to do it. They don't know. Church Christ is different, you know. I went somewhere, I just came and got on my knees and, prayed the sinner's prayer, settled them up. No, we call this the invitation. Some may call it the altar call. You simply walk down these aisles and make your confession. We want to ask you, do you believe in Jesus Christ as God's Son? You answer that, and then you're baptized in water. Baptism is not a pouring, it's not a sprinkling, it's immersion in water. That's what we do to become a Christian. And then God adds you to his church. There may be someone here who has done that, but you're standing in need of prayer. And you want us to pray on your behalf. We'll do that. We'll do that this morning as we stand and sing the song.
Pass me not, oh gentle Savior, Lord, hear my humble cry. Oh, I on a thirst Why on others thou art calling, Master, do not pass me by, and I'm calling you, Savior, why don't you hear my humble cry? Oh, why on others thou art calling, do not pass me by, Lord, let me have thy throne of mercy. Lord, will you find a sweet relief? Lord, it's me kneeling there in deep contrition. Lord, will you help my unbelief? And I'm calling you, Savior, why don't you hear my humble cry? Lord, why on others thou art calling, do not pass me by. Well, we're calling you, Savior, why don't you hear my cry? Oh, why on others thou art calling, oh Lord, do not pass.
There are several prayer requests on this morning. Brother and Sister Ruffin are coming. Sister Ruffin is asking prayer for pain in her hands and for spiritual strength with Bella Christian. Brother Ruffin is asking for prayer for the doctor's appointment, and also we're celebrating 34 years of marriage. And he needs some help with his moving on this coming week. Sister Pam Jackson is requesting prayer for spiritual strength with her Christian, for her family, for her children. And she's also asking prayer for her family members who are very pastor. Sister Lynette Kemp is asking prayer for a family member who is ill, her husband at the camp, and also she's asking prayer for her own strength. She's thankful to count it up a joy, thankful for the prayers on behalf of Brother Camp and prayers for his health. Sister Brittany Mary is making a confession and also a prayer. She's praying for Christian-like behavior this morning and with the request that was made by our brothers and sisters in Christ. Lord, we heard the request that was made as we read from these cards. Different requests made, some for spiritual strength, some for physical strength, some have family members who are ill, some have been in the hospital, some are home right now. Also prayers of repentance of sin, asking for forgiveness for unchristian-like behavior. And also, Father, we get prayer requests made for those who have family members who have not obeyed the gospel. Lord, we come to you believing that you hear us. And we come to you knowing that you have already addressed the needs that we bring to you. But by faith, we make these requests known publicly. We ask you, Father, to answer the request of each brother and each sister who come on this morning. Lord, we suffer many trials and tribulations on this side of eternity. Give us the maturity to count it all joy so that our faith can be strengthened and that we can rely on you because we know you'll see us through. And we thank you for answering the prayers of those who have made requests in time past. We do pray for restored health and strength. We pray for doctors and medical, those in the field of medicine who attend to those who are sick. We pray that they don't use their knowledge and their skill, and that the decision that they make will bring a speedy recovery to those who need. We need you, Father. We look to you for help and strength. You're a good God. You answered us in time past. And we do believe that you'll continue to answer us now and in the future. Go with us, Father. Never leave us. Keep your arms of love and protection around us. Help us as we try to serve you in this world that we live in. This is our prayer. Yes, in Jesus' name. Amen. We're in the month of March, and we should be having a teacher's appreciation coming up on Sunday this month. And we're reaching out to Harriet James Elementary School. That's the school that this church has adopted. And so one Sunday this month, we want to invite teachers and administrators to come. And I think the brothers are working on that. So before this month is over, Lord willing, we'd like to do that. Next month, we have scheduled something called Lunch and Learn, or Learn and Lunch, something that is a community activity, and different topics will be addressed from the field of health and medicine, welfare, also some areas of some legal things. As we get older, as people get older, sometimes we need advice, preparing the wheel, those kind of things. So we want to be community sensitive this week, and we look forward to April coming. And then hopefully before the summer is over, I mentioned to you in the summer this workshop called Survival 21, and got a tentative date. Got a lot of activities, so let's just keep working. Is our delivery here today? Is Brianna Burton here today? And Brianna, this is long overdue. But here's your fantastic.
We have two guests with us. We have Lawrence and Desiree Walker. Will you please stand? have Mr. Price. Yes, Sister Buford. He left? Yeah. Okay. We'd like to welcome you, Mr. and Ms. Walker. Church, 1, 2, 3.